Hey guys, it's Nicholas here from upgradeToLife.com and welcome to this video which is called How to Achieve Total Knowingness. It is done. Right, a phrase that I'm sure you've heard quite a few times while engaging in Neville Goddard's teachings, while learning more about the law of assumption is, it is done. Right, know that it is done, go straight to the end, but obviously this is not always easy. So with this video, I did my best to conclude and condense all necessary quotes, all necessary things that you need to know so that you can achieve this knowingness, right? Where it's not just a surface level thing where you say, oh yeah, it's done, but actually you still doubt a lot. Actually, you still are fearful. Actually, you still are triggered. No, we're talking about a real knowing, an inner subjective knowing, a deep conviction that it is done. Okay, so this is the topic of this video, so I highly recommend you stay till the end because this is a really powerful video in my opinion. And with that, let's just dive right in. First of all, here are two videos that I did in the past that I highly recommend you check out after this video, or you pause it right now and you first of all watch these two videos. But these two videos are also related to shifting a state and remain in a state and seeing if you have actually shifted into a state, right? The first one is called How to Shift into a State and Stay There. And the second one are 7 key things that you need to know so that you can see if you have actually shifted your inner state. I will link both of these videos beneath in the video description. And with that, now that we covered this introduction, let's just dive right in and let's just look at today's agenda. Because here are the things that we are going to talk about. Now, the first thing is inner knowing, deep conviction. I want to share a quote with you from Neville that basically sums this point up. Then we're going to talk about the feeling of naturalness, aka satisfaction, when you're really relieved in this inner knowing, when you're really satisfied, when your hunger is stilled and you just know it is done. You don't continue to desire, right? That's the second point. And then the third one is a new set of reactions, which is tied to that new state that you shift into, and therefore you react in a new way, right? You can't be triggered to the present circumstances any longer. And then I would like to conclude this video with a series of quotes from Neville Goddard and also from Bentinho Massaro, another great spiritual teacher, relating the subject of knowingness and inner conviction and subjective knowing that it is done. So with that, let's just talk about the first point, which is inner knowing, deep conviction. Let's just look at the first quote here. So Neville said, "What you feel deeply is far more important than what you are thinking. You may think about doing something for a long time and never do it. But when you feel something deeply, you are spurred to act, and God acts. He who is the cause of all life acts through the sense of feeling. You can think of 1,000 things, yet not be moved to act upon one of them. A deep conviction felt is far more important than anything you could ever think." Right, so the highlighted part here is especially important, right? A deep conviction felt is far more important than anything you could ever think. This is another great quote that I wanted to bring in here because it shows us that experiencing something imaginatively, actually, making this deep shift in your state via your imagination is far more potent, is far more relevant, is far more important than just thinking of something and being engaged in the mind. Because through your senses, right, and only in your mind, you can never really generate a real, deep, solid, grounded knowingness that something is how you want it to be, that you are already who you want to be, right? That needs this next step. I mean, you can think all day good thoughts. Okay, that's great. But actually, within the all that there is consciousness, right, in which everything already does exist, since creation is finished, and you know that, then we basically inwardly go into that state of already being what we want to be, already having what we want to have. And by continuously doing that, it becomes like a felt experience, which will then, lead to this deep conviction. Meaning this knowing, right? When we talk about knowing, when we talk about faith, when we talk about this deep conviction, this is like a result of the imaginary experience of the end, of you having felt the end real again and again, and maybe again and again and again, right? It may take one time to feel, it real, it may take more time, but that is okay, right? That doesn't matter. That does not take away the manifestation here. And this is why he said, right, what you feel deeply is far more important than what you are thinking, right? And you can, and I also like this part, right? You may think about doing something for a long time, right? You think about, this, and maybe, do this, and I will start with this, right? But you will never really do it. You will never really act upon it. Whereas if you feel into it, right? If you imagine, if you experience it, if you, in a sense, connect to that, then you are, in a sense, moved to act. This is one of my favorite lines from Neville, where he said, you will be moved, right? Meaning you are on this human plane, right? In the three-dimensional world, there you don't really have free will, right? Your free will is your awareness and you selecting the state that you want to shift into, right? You going straight to the end. But then whatever needs to happen to place you there and whatever things you have to go through to end up in that state also externally, that is not up to us, right? So, this is why we have to use the sense of feeling, aka our imagination, to experience the end. And then we step by step get into this deep conviction. That is the first part of this video. So stay with me. There's a lot more to come, right? But that is one way, one step, one important thing to know when we talk about how to achieve total knowingness, right? Obviously, we can't achieve it through forcing something into our mind, flipping thoughts, being engaged in our mind, because the mind, and I will say this again and again and again because this is really important, the mind can only believe what's in front of it, right? If you say to the mind right now, I am right now really wealthy, then the mind sees what is there, it looks at your bank account, it looks at your circumstances and all of that, and it will feel lied to, right? And you create this resistance and you can't battle the mind. So let the mind be the mind, but inwardly, right, within your imagination, which is above mind, right, you go to the end. And by doing that again and again, whenever the desire comes up, you go back to the end, you start to create this deep conviction. You start to create this knowing that, wait a second, this is actually already who I am. This is actually already real for me, right? And this inner knowing starts to grow. That's the first point. Let's talk about the feeling of naturalness or satisfaction. Okay, and here's another quote. Now, you may take only a moment or you may take 3 years. I can't tell you how long it's going to take, but I tell you this much. It can be measured by the feeling of naturalness. You can wear a feeling until it's natural. The moment the feeling becomes natural, it will begin to bear fruit within your world, right? Meaning sometimes, people say, you can control the how, you can decide how and when it's going to show up. My experience, and also what I read from Neville himself, is that this is not really the case, and that's true for me as well. However, the only thing that we can measure is how long it takes us to feel natural about us. And the moment it feels natural, the moment we are convinced, the moment we are satisfied, then we automatically let go, right? Because we already live in that new state, we already react from this new state. And that's the moment the state is externalized, is expressed, right? And that's the moment we don't have to work out any ways, right? Because, like we learned before, we will be moved. So the only thing that we, in a sense, have in our hand is how long it takes until we feel natural about this. Because if something feels unnatural, and then you shift into it, and then you maybe fall out of this state again, and then you wait 1 month to make it natural again, then it might take a longer time compared to if you would fall out of a state, you would instantly, kindly, gently place yourself back in the end, and then you would remain there. And then maybe 1 day later you fall out, okay, you go back into the end again, and then you have it in control. And then within a really short period amount of time, it will start to feel more natural, and you will become better at remaining in your desired state, right? But like Neville said, right, it maybe takes a day, it maybe takes 3 years. That's he can't say how long it's going to take until that manifestation shows up, right? As you know, every manifestation has its own appointed hour, but it has to show up if that state is, in a sense, accepted by you, if you have occupied that state, if you're convinced of that state, right? If that is a felt, real experience within you, then it has to show up, okay? And that's then the feeling of naturalness. You won't have fears around this topic. You won't have doubts around this topic. You won't fall back into the old state. No, you're just natural. You go about your life. You're not searching for solutions. You're not searching for signs because you feel natural about it. It's already done for you, right? And you feel satisfied. Your hunger, what you previously hungered for, what you so much wanted right now, is been satisfied because you experienced it. And then, of course, it's natural, right? That's the second point when we talk about how to achieve total knowingness. And the third one, what then comes from all of that, are the new reactions that you basically will automatically do. So let's just talk about that, right? Now, how will I know that I've changed the feeling of I? Basically meaning, how will I know that I have shifted into a new state? By beginning first with an uncritical observation of my reactions to life, and then noticing my reactions when I think I'm identified with my choice. That's the core thing. If I assume that I am the man that I want to be, let me observe my reactions. If they are as they were, I have not identified myself with my choice, with my new state. For my reactions are automatic. And so if I am changed, I would automatically change my reactions to life. So the changing of the feeling of I results in a change of reaction, which change of reaction is a change of environment and behavior, right? A longer quote, which comes with a lot of, important things that we have to point out here. So this is an important question that people should ask themselves, right? What is one way for me to see if I have shifted my state? What is one way for me to know that I'm on the right track, that I'm doing it correctly, that I apply this law the right way? And the first one, and one of the major ones, one of the main things, is by you observing in an uncritical way, in a non-judgmental way, your reactions to life, right? And see if these reactions are actually, in alignment with the desired state or not. Meaning if you were to shift into a financial abundance state, right, and you do this, but then you still react to a bill that comes in, you still react to you having to buy for something unexpectedly, you still react to a price for your favorite item in the store that goes up a little bit, that's not someone that is in the financial stable state. The same with your relationship. If you still react if someone says something or says not a thing that you want to hear, or the relationship is not here yet, and your friend enters a relationship and then triggers you, that does also not come from a natural state. That does also not come from you also feeling yourself to be in that relationship. Because if you were, you would act natural. You would react natural. It won't trigger you, right? So a core thing is an uncritical observation of your reactions. You should definitely do this. And like Neville said, just to conclude this right now, if I assume that I am the man that I want to be, meaning if I shift in that desired state, if I imagine that I am that, something that implies that I use any technique to occupy that desired state, then I watch my reactions. And again, if they are in alignment, that means I have shifted my state. And if not, I have not shifted my state, right? And because you have to understand, this is the important thing right here. Those reactions are automatic. I love how Neville put this out here, right? For my reactions are automatic. Responding is conscious in the moment when someone says something, and then you can consciously respond to that when you are aware. However, your usual reactions in day-to-day life, they come from the state that you're in. So by you seeing your reactions, you can therefore see if you are in a desired state, right? This is how we can trace the way back. And changing your state will change your reactions, will change the things you do, will change your environment, will change the things that you get, right? So those were, first of all, the 3 parts that I wanted to talk with you about when we talk about knowingness that we've shifted, when we talk about this knowing that it is actually done, that our goal is fulfilled, right? So just to recap a little bit, we talked about inner knowing, deep conviction, right? How do we achieve this? Via our imagination, by consciously going to the end. We talked about the feeling of naturalness, which will then, in a sense, set in because we just feel natural and we won't feel triggered and we are calm. We go about our life. We're not looking for signs and validation and proof and all of that. No, we just go in confidence that it is already so, right? Which we can't fake. This can only be the case when this is coming from the subjective inner standpoint. and we talked about the new reactions, okay? So that is the first part of the video. And right now, like I said in the beginning, I searched for some really powerful quotes regarding this whole topic of knowingness and inner conviction that I right now want to cover with you. So let's talk about the quotes. So first one is this: the world is yourself pushed out. Ask yourself what you want and then give it to yourself. Do not question how it will come about. Just go your way knowing that the evidence of what you have done must appear, and it will. Right? So that's a lot more great quotes come, so stay with me until the end, but that's just one, right? Just go your way knowing that the evidence of what you have done must appear. And what is meant by this? Meaning what you have done in your imagination, where you have shifted into. Right? And as soon as you feel fearful, doubting, worried, that's not that bad, but then you just place yourself back in the end. Okay, where there is no doubt, there is no fear when you are in the end. So that's one quote. Of all of the pleasures of the world, relief is the most keenly felt. When someone you dearly love is late, you anxiously await that key in the door. And when you hear their voice, your relief is keenly felt. That is the same kind of relief you will have when you have imagined correctly. So this basically ties to the feeling of naturalness, to the feeling of satisfaction, right? Meaning if you have imagined correctly, if you have imagined something that implied the end, a little simple act that implies fulfillment, hearing a congratulation, doing an action in your day-to-day life, but now doing it out of the state of the wish fulfilled, right? Paying for something, getting something, doing something, it really doesn't matter. But if you imagine that consciously, and you do it for the sake of experiencing that in the here and now, not to manipulate reality and make something happen, no, but to be in reality, which is your imagination, which is consciousness in motion, and to experience the end being done, then you will feel a relief. You will feel this, like this really, you will feel, I can't even put it into words because it has to be felt, like Neville said. But it's the same feeling like when you wait for someone and they finally come after 2 hours being too late and you really miss them and they come in and you're just like, finally. Same relief when you imagine correctly and you just then know that's it. I just experienced it. It is actually done. You may imagine over and over again, but you're only going to impregnate once. And if you reach the point of relief, your breath has been cast upon water. Meaning, I have some people also in my program that follow the principles, that follow the core step-by-step processes and that apply this law to manifest their goals. And then at some point they ask me, hey, Nicholas, like, is it normal that I don't really want to continue to imagine? Is it normal that I don't really actually want my desire any longer? And they're kind of perplexed about this. And I tell them, listen, if you really felt it real, if you really experienced it, then you just accepted that it is already done. So you can't continue to want it any longer because you know subjectively, inwardly, unconsciously, it's already a done deal, literally. And this only happens once, meaning if this is really done, right, and you reach this point of relief, then, like Neville said, your breath has been cast upon water. Like, it's done, and you will walk through that bridge of incidents to the fulfillment of your goal, right? And again, you can imagine over and over again, meaning you imagine it, you felt it, you experienced it, you know it's done, you had your scene, you had your act, you heard your congratulation, whatever you like to apply, you used I remember when, or you just, in a sense, you just stated it, you just claimed it, right? You just said, this is how it is, boom, you go about your life. And then if you fall out of that, then you just inwardly place yourself there again, like I always say. And that's not a bad thing, right? But once you are really in it, once like you're so convinced, then that's it. Then there's nothing more to do here. When you emerge from the moment of prayer, it is as though you are shown the happy and successful end of a play, although you are not shown how the end was achieved. However, having witnessed the end, regardless of any anticlimactic sequence, you remain calm and secure in the knowledge that the end has been perfectly defined. This is also one of my favorite quotes because this is how you can imagine that this works, right? This is really metaphorical and really easy to understand, right? When you come out of prayer, and if you don't know what prayer is, if you don't know what this means, if you don't know how to pray correctly, then check out the video I did, which is called How to Pray, which does mean how to appropriate to already be what you want to be, right? Check out this video. This is a really powerful one. And so when you come out of this, right, this is like you have seen the end of a movie, but you don't have seen what happens in between the movie. Meaning, you know, okay, this is the happy end. I know the main character will get his result, will get his relationship, will get his money, will get his business, will get his health, will get his desired lifestyle and his desired life experience. However, you don't know what happens in between. You just saw the end. And in between, the character could go through some ups and downs and seemingly no progress and be thrown back. But all of that is irrelevant for you. You just go through it. You don't react to it. You don't lose your hope and stuff like that. No, because you don't lose your faith. We don't want to hope. Hope is not nice. We want knowing. We want faith. Then this is how we do it, right? And so this is a really great metaphor, right? You having witnessed the end, and regardless of anything else, then you maybe watch this movie in the cinema, and then crazy things happen, but you already know how it will end. So you're not shocked by the things in between, and you remain in this knowingness that is done. If tomorrow something comes into your life that is not to your liking, do not accept it. For this fact blinds the eye of imagination. Remove the blindness by asking yourself what you would like in place of what seems to be. Enter into that thought. Revel in it as though it were not a fact. Persuade yourself that it is. Believe in its reality and it will become your experience. Sorry for the little spelling mistake, but I'm sure you get the point here, right? When you are tied to these senses and you only let these senses dictate how your life is, and you listen to these senses and you listen to the current circumstances and you let this be your seemingly reality, then you blind the eye of imagination. You blind the inner conviction. You blind what you already saw and experienced within, right? If you then constantly get sucked into the circumstances and facts, right? So remove that by remaining loyal to that unseen reality. Faith is loyalty to the unseen reality. So persuade yourself that it is actually true, right? Not using hard work and force and pressure and effort, but more so consciously using your imagination, and believe in its reality, and it will become your experience. When the desire is upon you, that is the time to accept your wish in its fullness. Perhaps there are reasons why the urge is given to you at this time. Your three-dimensional being may think it cannot be now, but your fourth-dimensional mind knows it already is. So the desire should be accepted by you as a physical fact now, right? And then Neville gives an example. Suppose you wanted to build a house. The urge to have it is now, but it's going to take time for the trees to grow and the carpenter to build the house. Although the urge seems big, do not wait to adjust to it. Claim possession now and let it objectify itself in its own strange way. Do not say it will take 6 months or a year. That's not up to you, right? You just experience you already live in that house. You already have it. The minute the desire comes upon you, assume it is already a fact. You and only you have given your desire a time interval, and it's relative when it comes to this world. Do not wait for anything to come to pass. Accept it now as though it were and see what happens, right? That is the challenge. That's what I'm challenging you to do, right? Can you accept that it is done? Can you remain faithful to that, imagined state? Can you just accept that this is how it is right now without any hesitation, without any doubt? If yes, then congratulations, right? You're applying this in a really good way. And if not, that's no problem. Then you can practice it and become better at this, right? But the moment the desire comes up, you don't work out ways. You don't give it a time interval and say, oh, it will take 2 weeks, 2 years, 2 months, whatever. No, you basically do what Neville said, right? You claim possession now. Right? You accept it as a fact right now, as though it were true, right? And then you see what happens. Just watch it, watch your world, and see how it wonderfully, in a strange way, plays out. The most powerful practice is to know that it is done. when we know something, it is fact, it is reality, and that becomes our universe. As soon as there's total knowingness, it will be reflected in your circumstances, in your reality, elsewhere. Meaning, when knowingness is what manifests, right? Consciousness, you living in that state, that's what manifests. So you can know something without doing a technique. You can just know it by realizing that it is already done because creation is finished, by just starting to accept it as a fact right now. But again, if that's difficult, pick some of the techniques. Imagine a scene and go to the end. Hear congratulations that implies you're in the end. Say, I remember when. Say, isn't it wonderful, right? There are so many ways to help you connect to that end state, right? But like Bentino said, when we know something, it is fact, it is done. So this knowing does first of all not require you to do anything, right? You can just know without any requirements. If you can just know, then it's the most powerful practice that we can do, like he said, right? In the beginning, it will take you some time to practice that. The most powerful way to create your life the way you want it is to simply know that it has already happened, that it is true, that it is already so. If you can immediately shift your knowingness, then you no longer need intermediate in-between steps, right? It's done for you. That's it. It's a done deal. It's sealed, right? That is really, really powerful. That not all of us, not all of you listening to this will be doing this, will be engaged in this practice, will be actually practicing that. But for the seekers of you, for the guys that really want to make things happen, this is the way, right? Total inner knowingness. Just we simply know it happened, right? And in this one quote that I shared with you before, when Neville talked about the 3-dimensional mind and the 4th-dimensional mind, we can basically translate this to our human mind that's tied to the senses and to our 4th-dimensional imaginative self that can instantly be wherever we want to be. So we are there. It is done. Boom. That's it. And yeah, that's pretty powerful. So knowing is the most powerful. If you can go straight to the knowing aspect, knowing that something is done, then it is done. Because your knowingness, which Bentino also said, knowingness is consciousness, right? If you know something, then you are there within consciousness, within creation, creates your reality you're in. So it becomes physical immediately, right? And it might not always become physical immediately, right? It might again take this bridge of interval, is this bridge of events that you go through, but that's okay. We're not bothered by this because we know it is done. Okay. So this is the video, guys. So I'm sure that I gave you a lot of great impulses, a lot of great indicators, and a lot of great insights on how to achieve knowingness, what is relevant when we talk about knowingness and relief and conviction, and then having new reactions to life, right? And some powerful quotes from Neville and Bentino to conclude and sum up this topic of knowingness, right? It's not an out of this world thing. It's not a thing that only some people can do. Everything can just know something into manifestation, know something into the physical creation, but you know that it already has happened within you, right? Because everything is within you. And that is it for this video. If you need any help, if you want to dive deeper into that, if you want to learn step by step how you can take these teachings for your own personal life, right? The first thing that I advise you to do is check out the 2 links in the video description. One is my free masterclass, where I give you a 30-minute explanation on how you can apply this law in your life for your goals. And the second link is to apply for a free 45-minute consultation call with me or my team to figure out if we are a good fit to potentially work together in my program. So check out those 2 links in the description. And with that, I conclude this video and I speak to you in the next time. Bye, guys.